Hi, this is Walt Mossberg, personal technology columnist for the Wall Street Journal. And last week, Apple revamped, completely redesigned what it says is the most popular Macintosh it has ever sold. I'm talking about the MacBook, Apple's lower-end laptop aimed at average consumers. Now, the MacBook has been a ubiquitous sight on college campuses and high schools and households. You see it all the time in places like Starbucks. But this new model looks totally different than the white and black models that you've been used to seeing. It's clad in aluminum, like its bigger, costlier sibling, the MacBook Pro. It's a bit thinner, it's a bit lighter, and it has a number of other important changes. I've been testing this new MacBook for about 5 days, and I like it a lot. It includes much faster graphics. It has an LED screen, which is very thin and very bright. And it has a radical new innovation, which is also shared with the more expensive MacBook Pro, which has to do with the trackpad. On this new MacBook, the trackpad is huge. It's about 40% bigger than in the past. It's made of glass, and it's sort of a combination of the trackpad you're used to on laptops, which basically replaces the mouse and allows you to move the cursor and click on things, and the screen of an iPhone, which allows you to do multi-touch gestures using one or more fingers to represent to the computer different kinds of commands that allow you to rotate and resize photos, to quickly flip through web pages, and in the case of the new MacBook, to do some other things like expose the desktop or switch among running applications. But the really radical thing about this trackpad is that it has no physical button at all. Some of you know that Windows laptops typically have two buttons, one for left clicking and one for right clicking. Macs had one button, and when you wanted to right click, there were a number of ways you could combine clicking the button with doing something else to get a right click. This new MacBook and the new MacBook Pro in their new glass trackpad have no button at all. Instead, the whole trackpad is a button. So if you use one finger and click down, you get a left click. That is, remember, you're depressing the whole trackpad with your finger. And if you use two fingers and click down, you get a right click. There's another way to get a right click also. You can designate one of the lower corners of the trackpad for one finger clicking to get a right click. And they did that because it's more like reaching for the right click button on a Windows laptop. And of course, they're very anxious in getting folks to switch from Windows to the Mac. So after 5 days of testing, what did I think of this new MacBook? Well, I liked it a lot. It does have some downsides, and one of the big ones I'm going to get to in a minute is price. But in my tests of just running programs on it and doing different things with it, it worked great. It worked great with Mac programs. It also did a beautiful job of running Windows. I tested it with Windows XP using a program called VMware Fusion, which is one of those pieces of software that lets you simultaneously run Windows and Mac programs. And this new MacBook, even though it's Apple's least expensive of its new line of laptops, did a very snappy job of running Windows. On my battery test, which is a very tough test because I don't allow any of the battery saving features to be turned on and I keep the screen at full brightness, this new MacBook actually did slightly better than its predecessor, and that was pretty good. Both of them got a little under 4 hours in my test, which when you extrapolate to normal use and having battery saving turned on, I think could get you pretty easily to Apple's claim of 5 hours on this. And that's interesting because the battery is actually physically smaller and the graphics processor takes more juice. But let's get to some of the downsides. This new MacBook cannot be had for less than $1,299. The old one started at $1,099. Now, there are a couple of things that put this in context a little. The most popular model of the previous MacBook was a mid-range model, but also sold for $12.99, so people were willing to spend $12.99 on a MacBook. But of course, that was before the economy started to crash, and whether people will feel that $12.99 is something they can come up with, only time will tell. You also, of course, are getting more for the $12.99. To hedge against this, Apple is keeping the base model of the old design MacBook on the market, continuing to make them, and they've even cut the price of that from $10.99 to $9.99, so you can get into an Apple laptop for $9.99, but you're not going to get the aluminum enclosure and the bright new screen and the better graphics and the cool new trackpad. There are a few other downsides to this. Apple continues to refuse, for reasons I don't understand, to put in any of its computers slots for flash memory cards that you have in cameras and now you're getting in cell phones, and I think this is a downside. They removed the FireWire port. I don't think it's a big deal, but for some folks who have bought accessories that use that port, it could be a deal breaker on this machine. And lastly, it's only available in a glossy finish screen. They used to have a choice between glossy and matte. And, you know, this is a personal issue, but some folks dislike the glossy screen because it picks up glare from lights behind you and it picks up fingerprints. Now, I also had a little trouble adjusting to the new trackpad. I had trouble. It seemed very slippery to me, and it takes a while to learn the clicking motions. I have to say, other people I asked to verify my reaction did not have the same reaction. They did not have any trouble. And after a few days, my troubles with the thing, or my adjustment problem, seemed to go away. But I think for at least some of you, you should be prepared for an adjustment period. Having said all that, I think this is a sturdy, speedy, attractive a computer, very versatile. And if you have the $12.99, I can hardly recommend it. This is Walt Mossberg from the Wall Street Journal, and I'll see you next week.